Hello, hello, Aileen here, and I'm very happy to be here on Friday. I haven't scheduled this live because it's been such a busy week since I got back from conference. And I've just been catching up with myself. I've been catching up with my training groups and making sure that everybody is taken care of. And I've been looking after my boys and making sure that everything is okay for them at school. So I decided I will come on here and do this little update on my trip to the AICI conference. So I'm going to actually just check if this is live in my Facebook page, which is the only way I know how to share it into the group now. So I'm just going to share it into my group from my Facebook page. So yeah, things are a little bit trickier, but I am just going to go post and hopefully it will actually flow into my Facebook group as well. So I'm actually doing this live on StreamYard. I'm streaming it to YouTube, and I'm also streaming it into my Facebook page because we can no longer stream directly into a Facebook group. And then from my Facebook page, I share it into my group. Yeah. So let me go back here to StreamYard where it's all happening. So today I really wanted to talk about my experience of the conference, the sessions that I thought were really great, and also to share some of my key takeaways from the conference. I went to my first conference back in 2006 when I was living in Singapore. I had just come into the industry. I had trained as a color consultant. I had trained as a style consultant. And at that point, I felt really on my own in the industry. So being able to meet other personal stylists in a safe space was absolutely amazing. So myself and Imogen Lampert. Imogen is a trainer of personal stylists in Australia, in Melbourne. She actually created a conference then, and she brought people together to do their CIC exam, what is known as the CIC exam now. I think at the time it was called first level certification. So I went to Australia and I did my first level of certification with AICI back in 2006. And it was pretty amazing to meet other consultants. It was the first time I had met Imogen as well. Imogen is incredibly generous and she's an amazing personal stylist and trainer. And it has been my privilege to know her pretty much from the year that I came into this industry. And we're still sharing stuff after all these years. So she just had small children at that point. I wasn't even married at that point. I was still single, actually. I was with my husband, but we weren't married yet. So I have a very long history with AICI. And those early years were really great for me because it allowed me to meet other personal stylists. It allowed me to have, a community of personal stylists that I didn't know. And then after that, I joined the chapter here in Singapore. I don't think the chapter was formed at this point, but I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, there was a chapter formed by Christina Ong, who is actually a very famous trainer here in Singapore. And I joined her and people like Lee Kin Pang, who became a great friend and a great colleague over the years. It was just really great to have community. It's much easier to have community now compared to having community back then, because we just didn't have the same online forums that we have now. And having other people that are on the same path as you make a huge difference. and you realize all the fears you have, all the insecurities you have, all the doubts you have. When you share these with other people in the industry, it just changes everything. It changes your perspective. And that was one of the things, all these 20 years later, that I loved about the conference this time. It was that a lot of personal stylists got on stage and shared their stories. They shared their stories, they shared their struggles. And I think that's amazing. This is kind of a new thing that I hadn't seen in previous conferences, to be honest. Sometimes I go to conference and just think everyone was perfect and nobody has struggled like me. But this conference was amazing in that, you know, a lot of people shared their stories, they shared their struggles, and that makes us feel less alone. It makes us feel, you know, like, yeah, I have felt that too, and I'm not on my own in feeling this. Okay, so I don't expect anyone to actually join this live because it is nearly 3 p.m. here in Singapore. I didn't schedule it in any way. And I know it's an awkward time between Europe and America. Australia, it's a little bit better. We do have a day off here in Singapore. I think it's a professional development day, so possibly everybody doesn't have it off, but I definitely have my two boys at home. So this was just a good time for me to do this. So I just decided to go on here and share, even if you're going to have to catch it on replay. So if you're watching this on replay, I really appreciate #replay. I'm just going to go into the group now and make sure again that I am definitely live in the group, which is brilliant. Okay, good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is what I've done here is I have shared my screen, because I want you to go through the speakers. There's just no way I'll remember them all. But if I have them up here in front of me, I'll be able to remember which sessions I went to. So the first day of the conference, I flew to Manila on what day? Wednesday. So I flew in on Wednesday, and I got into my hotel room around 4 p.m. on Wednesday. So I took all of Wednesday then to relax. There was, you know, some sightseeing tours arranged by AICI on the Wednesday, but I opted out because I am used to being on my own. I knew that 4 or 5 days of conference was going to be a lot of peopling for me. I knew that I was going to need a lot of rest, a lot of time to recover. So any chance I got, I kind of recovered. So I didn't do anything on the Wednesday. And additionally, I was speaking last on Thursday, which was really the first official day of conference. So I knew that Thursday was going to be a really long day for me. I would be a bit stressy about having to talk all day Thursday, being the last person to speak. So I just wanted to make sure that I was well rested. So then the conference started on Thursday morning. We went and we registered. And the first speaker that I got to go and see was actually Ashwin Diwan from India, from one of the Indian chapters. And this is not the first time I've heard Ashwin speaking. I actually saw him 2 years ago at the conference in Punta Cana. When I went to Punta Cana, and he is a great speaker. He's really, really good. He's very engaging. He always has great stories, and he just presents really, really well. So I'm always thrilled to see Ashwin, and he talked about winning corporate clients. Now, I wasn't hugely interested in the topic, to be honest, because I don't work with corporates. I did work with corporates. Back in the day, I worked with Procter & Gamble, I worked with Standard Chartered, I worked with Knight Frank. So those were some of the bigger corporate clients that I got. Now, I found when I was working as a personal stylist with corporates here in Singapore that it was very, very competitive. And I didn't love the work, I'll be perfectly honest. I found that it was hard work. And I would be preparing something completely new every single time I went into a new client. So I went to listen to Ashwin purely because I know he's a great speaker and I always learn something. So I loved his session actually. He had some great stories. He illustrated his points really, really well. And I enjoyed his talk no end. So he was the first person I went to listen to. The next session that I went into was Sue Donnelly. Now, oftentimes we pick these sessions based on the fact that they're English speaking as well, because some of the speakers are not English speaking. So you can see that the ESPN case, which would be actually something that I would be quite interested in, was in Spanish. So obviously I couldn't go to that. And then there was some sessions that were concurrent. So I would love to have gone in and seen Valerie's session, but again, it was in Spanish. So this is French luxury for image consultants, and I know she's a brilliant consultant. So I would have liked to see her speak in English, because she's actually French and I know she can speak in English, but she was actually speaking in Spanish. Okay, so then I went into Sue Donnelly's session, Finding Self-Expression Through Stories. Now, I love Sue. I know Sue for many, many years, probably close to 20 years. She used to come to the Singapore chapter and talk years and years ago. And Sue is quite famous for her feng shui training. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So I did go into Sue's session, and Sue's was all about style stories. So I loved that. She talked about her own style story. She talked about finding her own identity and her own style, and how tricky and difficult that was, because she has a really, really creative and beautiful style of dressing, but she said it took a long time for her to embrace that. So I just really loved that session with Sue. Okay, so also going on at that time, I think, was the versatile capsule wardrobe for office women and the aesthetic of yin and yang. So I didn't actually attend any of those next 3 sessions. And then, of course, unfortunately, I was speaking at the same time as Tom from Thailand. So I couldn't go and see his session, but I would have enjoyed his session no end. I know Tom for quite a few years, so it would have been really nice to go into his session. And LGBTQ is kind of a newer niche that a lot of personal stylists are interested in and in upgrading themselves. So that would have been a great session, but I didn't get to go. Instead, I was doing my own session on Stop Being the Best Kept Secret. So I actually went through my 5-step success path to have consistent income in your business as a personal stylist. And the session went really, really well. I got loads of questions. I had 52 people opting in for my little toolkit that I prepared specifically for our conference. So it was really great. Several people came up to me afterwards and talked to me about my session and said they were inspired, and it was just really great. I was really glad. I just had an hour. Normally I'd have about 2 hours at conference, but we just had 1 hour, so it went pretty quickly. I was exhausted afterwards, so I got to my room early that night, I can tell you, and I slept right through to the next morning. And I was so relieved to get my talk done, because honestly, it can be, exhausting waiting to do your talk, and the nerves get the better of you. No matter how many times you've done it, we oftentimes still get, very nervous. Okay, so then we went on to Friday. So let me keep going on Friday. On Friday, yes, we went, I actually started with Elise Parsons' session on style alchemy. It was really amazing. Elise actually had 2 hours, if I can remember correctly. And Elise talked about style and the Enneagram personality test. She's kind of merged the two together. And I just loved Elise. Elise is in 84, I think. She's 84. She got on the stage. She's presented for 2 hours. She had 1 hour of presenting herself, and then the next hour she had a panel of people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s talking about their style journey and how each of them evolved over the years through their style journeys. And all of them were personal stylists. So it was a really great session. I would say that it was probably one of the standout sessions of the whole conference. I really love this session, and Elise is a great person, a really nice, fun person. So I took the time definitely to go and talk to Elise because she's so inspiring, and I want that to be me. I want to be on the stage when I'm in my 80s doing my thing. She's a great testament to how long you can continue to work in this industry. And she wasn't the only one. The next session that I went to was Carla Mathis and Erin Mathis's session on color analysis mastery. Now, Carla is also in her 80s. Carla was also on stage presenting with her daughter-in-law, who is Erin. And they talked about color analysis. And they talked about using pictures that the client supplies and pictures of objects and pictures of scenes that they like to help decipher their colors. So it was a slightly different angle. It's definitely not the first time I've heard this, but it's really interesting. And I think there is a lot to be said for it. Though when you're starting out, it might be a lot to take on board. And definitely you have to be able to decipher and put things together. And I feel that it's a system that would work for people who have a lot of experience in color analysis, but it might just be a little bit too airy-fairy for somebody who's starting out. But these two were great, and I loved their session. Next, I went to see Imogen. I love Imogen's sessions always because Imogen, she's been in the industry a long time. She really has a great name as a blogger. I have had her in some of my groups speaking. I have heard Imogen speak many, many times. And I think she's always a little bit cutting edge. I loved her talk on AI. AI was nearly mentioned in every presentation, to be honest. AI, and the message that we got told over and over again was, if you're not using AI, you're going to be left behind. You either use it or you don't, and you're going to be miles and miles and miles behind the consultants who are using AI if you're not using it. And it's advancing so quickly, and the consultants that are using AI are 100 times more productive than the consultants who are not. And this has been something I've been saying for the last year, and I know that in my groups, we heavily use AI, especially in my Stylepreneur Accelerator. It makes a huge difference to productivity, what you can produce. So I would say that many of the people who came into my Stylepreneur Accelerator, they weren't using AI, and they're now power users because it's something that I use every single day, all day long. And it's so important to develop that skill. So every person who stood up and spoke kind of re-emphasized how important that was. Okay, so moving on. Next, I went into Deanne Ting's neuromagic session, and I loved it. I love neuroscience anyway. So this is the science of the brain, how our brain works. And she talked about how our brain works with regard to branding. So it was a really, really great session. Deanne is very, very engaging. She's great fun. And on top of that, she knows her stuff. She knows her stuff. And I was thrilled actually when Deanne got, what do you call it? Award. She got an award, which was totally, totally well deserved for her. Okay, keeping going. Next, we had Delby Bragas from the Philippines. Again, I know Delby from, I don't know, Delby has been in Singapore. I was in Manila 10 years ago for another conference. I've met, I'm not sure if Delby was in Punta Cana or not, I can't remember. But Delby was talking about LinkedIn and updating your LinkedIn profile. So she actually went into my LinkedIn profile in her talk, and she shared it, and she talked about the different sections, and yeah, it was lovely. It was a great session, and she did use my profile, so obviously mine is well updated. But when I came back from conference, actually, a couple of the girls in my Stylepreneur Accelerator program wanted to learn about updating their LinkedIn profile. So I actually took some of that newer training and newer ideas, and I put it into that training, and I shared it with my ladies in my Stylepreneur Accelerator program. Okay, and then the last on Friday was that I went in to see was Emma Willman. And Emma was talking about, Emma was talking a lot about the importance of niching down. And she talked about her own journey in niching down, and she was encouraging people to niche down as much as they possibly could in line with their own life transitions. Now, I have been talking about this for 7 years, how important it is to understand the niche you are moving into, to have lived experience of the niche that you choose. So I think Emma hit the nail on the head here. It is something that I do in my Stylepreneur Accelerator program. We work out your niche based on your lived experience. And this is something I totally resonated with. It re-emphasized everything that I do, and I loved Emma's presentation. Okay, and then on Wednesday, that was on Friday, and there was a fashion show. Apparently it was amazing, but after all, a full day like that, I did not attend the fashion show. I was just too tired. So I respected myself, and I went and I had an early night. I had a bath, I did a face mask, I ordered room service, and I just treated myself really well because I was tired and I'm not used to all this peopling. So it was just really nice to go to my room. And I also was anticipating, we have the gala ball tomorrow night, and we have a really early start on Saturday morning. So we started, I think it was 8:30 on Saturday morning. So that was, and I was already really tired. And then we had the gala that night. Just going to take a sip of tea because my throat is getting a bit dry. So Saturday, first session that I attended was Claire Maxfield. Again, I know Claire Maxfield from Australia for many, many years. I actually employed Claire as my personal stylist directly after I had my first son. So it was great to see Claire. And Claire was talking about building your own course collection. Now, I have built many, many courses, and a lot of the stuff that Claire was talking about was really for people who were starting to build a course, but it never does any harm to go into a session and seeing if, you know, there's something that you can learn from that session. The next session that I went into was Karen Brunger's, and she was talking about unlocking excellence in virtual color analysis. And honestly, it was great to see virtual color analysis having full and center stage at conference, because at one time it was kind of considered it doesn't work, or there was a lot of people skeptical about it, whereas now all of the top trainers in color analysis are talking about virtual color analysis. They're now talking about, you know, definitely Karen was talking about the idea of having somebody to verify what you're doing and having second opinions. I've known this for years, that, you know, as new consultants are being trained in virtual color analysis, you should definitely have some kind of backup support where you can bring clients to a support group, and have them, you know, confirmed by other consultants or confirmed by me. So I didn't really learn anything new, but it was still great to see that, you know, virtual color analysis is now considered a common service for personal stylists. Okay. Next up, I went into Lever Up Your Business with Craig Nordstrom. And Craig did a very great presentation. I have speaking of Craig is Craig of Hue and Stripe. I know Craig as well for several years. I have had him come in here to the Savvy Stylist group and speak about his platform. And Craig was speaking all about leveraging your business. So the idea of, you know, hiring people for the roles that you don't fulfill very well yourself. The idea of automation. He was big on automation, so he talked a lot about automation. And I'm always super interested in this. So he did show us a process which I was able to take and put into ChatGTP to create something automated for myself. Because now you can create your own ChatGTP with your own prompts, which I have learned to do. So it's just amazing that I was able to take the process that Craig explained to us to streamline our automation and put it into ChatGTP. So that was pretty amazing. Okay. So then, next I went to Enrique Su's presentation. And Enrique is, I think, Spanish, but he's lived in Singapore for the last 20 years or something like that. So I've spoken about that actually I've spoken about his session on my post from it was yesterday. So if you want to hear more about his session, he talked about the 3 different roles that you need to fulfill in your business. I loved his session. And I think he brought home the point that most personal stylists are artists, they're creatives, and they're brilliant at the technical side of their business, but they're not very good at selling. They're not very good at the entrepreneurial side of their business. So he talked about that. He didn't really give any solutions, but he did explain that, you know, this is a big gap that he sees with personal stylists. It was a gap. He is a personal stylist as well. And it was a gap that caused him to fail over and over again. And he told his own story about that. And I'm passionate about that because I was the same as Enrique. I went into my business. I loved and I had a passion for personal styling, but I didn't make money for a long time until I learned the skills around being an entrepreneur. And this is also what I teach in my 5-step success path in my Stylepreneur Accelerator, because I don't think you can succeed. You cannot succeed unless you put systems in place, unless you have a proven strategy to, sorry, that's my son ringing me. I'm not sure how to turn it off. I got a new phone yesterday, and so they ring me these times. Jack, I'm just on a live session here.
Okay.
approve. Okay, so he wants me to approve something on my phone. So I have to go in and approve it. I'm not sure that I can approve it though, because I changed my phone yesterday. I don't know if I can approve it or not. Anyways, let's see if I can approve it or not. So yes. Now, what was the next session? I'm not going to be able to prove that now because I don't know how to do it. Okay, excuse me. I still have that awful cough that I got before Christmas. Okay. The next session that I went into was media training with Ava, which was great. She talked a bit about speaking on social media. She talked a bit about speaking on TV. Ava is the one that I would go to if I ever have a TV appearance again. She really, that's her niche. She specializes in that. She has her own TV program in Austria. So she is the perfect person to go to if you have an event coming up on TV. Okay. And the very last training session that I went to was the 3 dimensions of personal image and their balance. And this was by Jiali Zhu. And she was brilliant. She's a university professor. And she talked about, real life situations where people turned up not appropriate for an occasion. She showed videos. It was an excellent session. So yes, that takes me to the end of, there was the gala. I almost forgot to tell you. There was the gala ball, which I attended, which was brilliant. I really loved that. I got dressed up, which is nearly always the fun part of conference. So I got dressed up and we went downstairs. There was a band. We had a lovely meal. There was awards. It was really, really amazing, and it was really fun. Didn't stay too late. Didn't stay for the dancing because, again, I was just exhausted at that point. But it was all very fun. It was amazing to see everybody dressed up, and I really enjoyed it, despite thinking, oh my God, this is going to exhaust me. So that's basically my update from the conference. I wanted to share that with you because I do think, if you have the chance to go to an AICI conference, I would definitely recommend it. The next one is going to be in 2 years. And I think that it's an amazing opportunity to meet other consultants. It's an amazing opportunity to speak. It's an amazing opportunity to learn what is the latest that's happening in the industry. And, knowing people for a long period of time and having community is absolutely amazing. So I highly recommend it. And I'm going to end it there because I think my 2 boys are going to break into me very, very shortly. And so that is my live for today. If you have any questions, if you're watching this on replay, #replay, I welcome any questions you have. And let me know, which session would you have loved to attend yourself? Let me know. I can see one eye watching me. Who is live with me? Let me know. Because it is a very strange time that I'm live. It really and truly is. But this, as I said, this was the only time that would work for me today. So I will chat to you all very, very soon. Take care, everyone. And I will see you somewhere in the group or somewhere around really soon. Take care. Bye.